All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Truth Talks, where we go over the stories behind our clients. Today we have Shivam, also known as Shiv, as the nickname here. Shiv is, one of those clients who's been with us for a while, and we've done some different phases, and really, I would say, explored a cool area with your fitness journey. I would say we did a lot of exploration getting started. I think it was kind of newer coming into fitness when we first started. So happy to have you on. And how are you doing today, Shiv? Good?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Paris.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. What's new and exciting in your life, in your personal life right now? Anything?
Right now in my personal life, I would say, on a personal perspective, just my fitness journey and the way it's going recently is
Mhm.
exciting. Seeing some progress on the new cutting phase that we're kind of into now.
Awesome.
Work-wise, I'm starting a new job, also in supply chain at the same company, but starting that next week. So some changes coming professionally as well.
Amazing. So we're doing it all. They're doing it all. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. Yeah, I think um, the thing I like to preach about your fitness journey is it's always something that is going on in the background at the same time as you'll go through a bunch of different lifestyle changes, right? So whether that's starting kind of a new role at work, or some people have complete career shifts in different industries, or they're going to school and then starting working, or going back to school, or they're becoming a parent. Like, there's so many different life phases that you're going to go through, but the fitness journey, that's why I say journey is like something that should always be in the background. You know what I mean? So that's really
Yeah.
awesome, man. Really cool. So give us a bit of a rundown of maybe your past fitness journey, even up to the point where we started working together. Like, how are things going, and what made you kind of reach out for some more guidance, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. I guess so. Going like way back to early, maybe my teen years.
Hmm.
I wouldn't really say I was much of an athletic person.
Okay.
And during school, I found myself to be kind of skinny or just lacking mass. Um, and so that kind of challenge posed some challenges in terms of the physical activities I wanted to do, to play basketball, for example. I think it's something that may have held me back from my full potential in terms of
Hmm.
kind of not having that full strength there, or not kind of having the proper nutrition, protein levels in my diet.
Hmm.
So that kind of went on during my high school years, and during university as well. I wasn't really much into sports, or working out at that stage quite yet. The only thing I would have done is maybe just play some pickup basketball with friends on the side.
Gotcha.
But I was doing, engineering, so a bit of a busy curriculum. Although it's no excuse. I mean, I had friends in engineering who were also working out too, but I kind of used that as an excuse not to get into working out. But when I finally entered the workforce after graduating from school, um, in the background, I always wanted to kind of change um, things about my body and just put on more muscle and gain some size and
Hmm.
strength. And I just kind of never disciplined myself enough to get into it
Okay.
until after graduating. I did this program called the Future Authoring Program, developed by some psychologists online, where
Oh,
basically you write out about your life, um, where you see your life going, and kind of write a future for yourself in different areas of your life. And
wow.
so one of the areas that was important to me was fitness journey. And the program also would ask you to write, what would your life be like if you don't, get your act together and
Mm.
strive towards those goals, right? And so that really kind of was a trigger point for me that I need to get serious about this and really change my whole lifestyle. And so that's when I learned about your program through a mutual friend. And I said, this is going to be perfect fit for me. I need some accountability partner, someone to guide me through the journey. And so that's when we started working together. And from that point on, I mean, I think I kind of surprised myself as well. I've been fairly consistent, I would say, with keeping, my workout schedule week over week and getting into the routine. And I think I have a long way to go still, but I've made a lot of transformation from the point where I started. And so looking back, yeah, it's something that I'm proud of. And um, I really kind of changed my lifestyle a lot by incorporating fitness in, and I think it's led to benefits not only in terms of physical but mental as well, and kind of made me more productive at work, just in managing my whole life and time management aspects too. So that's kind of how my journey started, and where I'm currently at.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I love that you added kind of that extra bit that fitness gives you. It's like, yes, we've done some physical transformations, which we can talk about more in a bit, but also just the effect that it has on your life as a whole, and just the structure that it adds, right? I always say like structure in one place feeds structure in other places. So most people, and I've said this on maybe one of the other podcasts, but people that are usually dialed in on their fitness journey tend to have better structure in like their career as well, or whatever else they're working on, right? Because you're always kind of thinking ahead and thinking, okay, if I'm going to go to the gym here, then I got to finish my work here, then I'm going to eat here. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you going back and forth and making sure that you have a good plan, and it makes you start to think more in terms of being more regimented overall, right? It's kind of like that discipline that you do in one area of your life translates over into everything else, which is really cool. Awesome, man. That's great.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, you've been working at your career for the whole time we've been working together. You also start a relationship with Lynn as well, and everything during that time too. So that was another shift, and it's just like we have these shifts, but regardless, we're still working away and still chipping away. And not every week is perfect, but it's like as long as we're still moving forward and taking action, then like we're doing it right.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. What do you think what do you think was the main mindset shift from going to a point where you were ready to take action, then like actually taking the action? Like what kind of mind state did you have to get yourself in order to start being consistent and disciplined with your fitness journey?
Yeah, so for myself, I think it was mainly like what I mentioned earlier, doing that program about writing out future goals for myself and the direction I want to take my life in and how it would go if I don't do that, So I have something to, like two different paths in front of me. And if I don't, take my fitness journey more seriously and start doing it, then, life will just go on and I may never do it and may end up, disappointed with my own image. So I think that was a trigger point for me. And then also working with you to kind of set up a program and having weekly accountability check-ins, that was a big help for me to keep me accountable week after week and stick to the program rather than doing it on my own and having no one to be accountable to except for myself. I think it would have been more challenging for me, but that's just kind of my personal style. Maybe other people can keep themselves accountable, but in my case, it was kind of a combination of those two.
Gotcha. That's awesome. And I think you're not alone in that sense. I think it's kind of the way I phrase it is, would you do your homework at school if the teacher didn't check it? And a lot of us might have not done our homework, right? So it's kind of the same thing. Usually in our check-ins, I try to give a couple pieces of homework for the week, whether I phrase it like that or not, that we're trying to work on. And that way we know what we need to get done and we know what we need to improve on. And I definitely think that accountability goes a long way. So I love that you said that. And I think the coolest thing about what we've done, Shivam, is the lifestyle shift has been pretty significant if you actually think about the amount of behavioral change that went into what we've done so far, right? Like how you perceive your day and how, like what you do with your eating and the training. Like these are all big behavioral changes that I think we need to acknowledge as well, because sometimes we just think, okay, I got to start working out and I got to start, eating more strategically. But with those two things, there's a massive behavioral change component that comes with that, right? And it goes along with that mindset that you said was that mindset shift when you did that program. And I'm glad you did that because it kind of paints a picture. But I think we need to acknowledge and give ourselves a pat on the back for the behavioral change that you've gone through, right?
Yeah, it's very true. It's a complete change of the structure of your life, kind of. Yeah, so for me, like ever since we started working together, which was about 2 years ago now, I think there's rarely been a week where I haven't done a workout or a few workouts in there, right? So versus before that, it was basically no workouts per week, and so it's definitely a big shift in my schedule, but in a positive way.
Awesome, man. That's great. And I guess reflecting on some of the journey so far, what would you say were some key wins that you have stood out to you? They could be physical wins, they could be performance wins, they could be mindset wins, like whatever you perceive as a win.
Yeah, so for me, a big win would be like going from someone who is skinny to now someone who's put on, some muscle mass. So that kind of transformation was a win for me. And just, I guess, recently hitting a benchmark of squatting, I guess, basically 1 time my body weight, approximately. I think that was a win for me, from where I started.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just kind of being able to develop a routine, workout routine week over week, where I'm working out consistently and yeah, just consistently following that habit, I think is a win for me. Um, Definitely from compared to where I started from.
Awesome, man. Yeah.
Also, I guess having a transformation in the way I think about eating and being more conscious about what I eat and how it's how it's feeding my body, and powering my body. I think that's a win as well for myself and a transformation in the way I look at nutrition. So, and I think it'll, obviously pay off over the course of my life as well, had I never gotten into it. So,
100%, man. And what people probably don't know is that you are actually not a meat eater, right?
that's right.
So
Yeah.
we should probably highlight that. I mean, talk about kind of that and maybe some obstacles that go along with that when starting.
Yeah, for sure. Like being a vegetarian, obviously protein can be a little more challenging to get. I feel like meat is more denser with regards to protein. So for vegetarians, have to be more disciplined about your meals, maybe, and kind of more creative with sort of getting your proteins. But we worked together on that and found, high sources of protein. For myself, lately the staples have been a lot of quinoa and chickpeas, lentils, and milk and Greek yogurt, um, cheese as well. So from the dairy side, um, it's something that I wasn't perfect at during the journey and still continuously improving my protein levels and nutrition. But I think I've, even as a vegetarian, found some good sources of protein to incorporate
Mm-hmm.
in my diet.
Yeah, man, definitely a big shift there. I think, I would agree, something we can still work on, but it come a long way. And interesting enough, Shiv is one of the only clients that I actually have not taken a macronutrient based approach with. So we actually got a little creative for you, right? We found a strategy that worked. That we still gave some structure, but we weren't necessarily tracking macronutrients. So in my mind, the way we structure things, at the end of the day, I still had a rough idea of like what macros we were actually hitting. But I think for you, we came up with like a rough eating structure for the day and gave some go-to meals, and we were still heading in the right direction. So it worked for us. We found something that worked for us, but I think the principles were all in place. But interesting enough, like we didn't actually do like strict macro tracking, which is interesting, right?
That's
So.
right. Yeah, I guess the approach I personally wanted to take was follow like a meal plan, basically for 3 standard meals per day, and then the fourth meal I can kind of customize, while still keeping high protein, but give me a little more flexibility. Um, yeah,
Right. And exactly. And we kept track of like, how are you feeling? How's the gym going? What are our weigh-ins? What are we doing with our progress photos? So we were
Mhm.
still able to assess like if the game plan was working or not. And we talked about kind of relying on hunger and fullness cues as something different, right? So instead of just eating by numbers, it was kind of like, okay, if we're in a fat loss phase, we probably need to leave that dinner not like stuffed, maybe at the point where you feel like you could eat a little bit more. That's kind of usually a good benchmark. And then when we're in a building phase, it's like, okay, we should probably be leaving our meals pretty full, right? And because your hunger and satiety cues are pretty good at telling you whether we're not, we're eating too much or not, if we are choosing good whole nutrient dense food choices, right? So that was a bit of an interesting strategy, but hey, it worked for us. And in this recent fat loss phase, maybe we'll kind of tell the listeners. So I think the peak bulk weigh-in that we had was around 188, and I think we just hit we're under 170 now, so we're like 169 or something like that right now, and the goal is to finish this cut around the mid 160s.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I think a good amount of progress from where I started in the book, and I can visibly see the changes as well. With the fat loss. And yeah, going to continue to kind of focus on getting to the 160s again, and then maybe from that point looking at a different phase, maybe bulking up again.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
happy with the progress we made over the last few months.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, it's been pretty solid, and even like looking at your form videos, your form videos have improved significantly, right? Because we've been pretty on point with keeping up with taking form videos. Like you always send me form videos, which is good. So that has improved, but also I can see the physical changes not only in your progress pics, but also in like your form videos. I find when you're in the gym, I can see changes as well because the videos give me like a really good view of everything and how your body's moving, and you can see the changes there as well, right?
Yeah.
Like how your clothes are fitting, I can kind of tell how things are sitting. But I guess going to the form videos, what do you think were some of the most helpful parts of the journey? Do you think that having me there for the form video review or for like more of the mindset stuff, like what do you think was the most value that you got from me? I'm curious, and maybe you can give more insights because everybody wants something a little bit different. So what do you think were the most important attributes of having this relationship?
Yeah, so for me, like the weekly check-ins with you and just having a conversation about how the week went and like having some direction for the upcoming week was a big value add. Just to get some coaching from you. I mean, I think you're very charismatic in the way you deliver the feedback. So
Thanks, man.
it really sinks in and you have great advice, right? You know your stuff. And so it's kind of trusted advice that I'm getting, and it kind of keeps me on track, I would say. But definitely with the form videos as well, it's encouraging to get the feedback. When I'm doing the exercise right, it's nice to kind of hear that positive reinforcement. And when we're doing something incorrectly, nice to, have the tweaks and then implement them during the workout week and see how it goes, and then submit it again to get revised feedback. So I would say both of those components have been a big value add for myself. So
Awesome. Thank you. No, I definitely appreciate that. And I think the reason why, I always say people need to send more form videos, right? Because as you said, it's those little tweaks every week. And your squat might start at the point where we're like, okay, whoa, we need to do some look at this. And then over the weeks, slowly but surely gets better. And then, the recent squat videos, as we were saying, it's like looking pretty good, right? Looking pretty good. But only because we've been sequentially reviewing like additional form videos, right? It's not like one week your squat's like whoa, and then the next week it's like wow, that's awesome, right? It takes some time to on those big compound, more complicated technical movements to do some revision, right? So I think you've been doing a great job of getting those over so that we can review those and then listening to the feedback and then making tweaks, right? So I think that's awesome, man. I think that's really good. I'm curious to hear kind of your mindset of like how you get motivated to work out, because we talked about going from a point where you're pretty much not working out to then incorporating these new habits of going to the gym consistently. Like what do you do to keep yourself in a motivated state, or is it more discipline that's keeping you driving, or a routine or habit? Like how do you get yourself in the gym consistently, going from 0 workouts to now working out maybe 3-4 times a week?
So when I first started out, it was kind of just like a brute force. I just had to make myself go for the first few months, even though I really didn't want to and wasn't used to it multiple times a week. But over time, then I would say once I established a habit after a few months, then it just became a routine for me. And then it was just, I didn't even have to think much about it. Like I was just part of my lifestyle. Uh, so I didn't really have much resistance to it.
Mm,
I think the key part for me is just building up to that momentum where I'm going consistently. And then after that, it's kind of more easier for me to keep it up.
nice.
But
So
if I have a week where the momentum is disrupted, it gets a little bit harder to get back on it. But yeah, at those points, you just have to use discipline to make yourself get back into the routine, and then it's pretty consistent from there. I know there are some winter days when it's really cold and dark. It's hard to make yourself go. Those are the days you have to rely more on discipline a little bit. But overall, just once you have the routine, it's easier to make yourself go. And I think for me as well, finding some flexibility in my work schedule has helped. Like I had a discussion with my boss that I like to work 9 to 4 and then go to the gym when it's a little less busy. and then come back home and continue, work for another hour or two. Because I like to go non-peak hours, I found if I go after 5 o'clock, it was really crowded, and um, I prefer to go in a more emptier hour. So even for me, sometimes I'll go during lunch when it's a little bit more emptier, and that kind of helps me get more motivated as well to go. So those are some of the things.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I heard two big things were getting to the point where it becomes a habit, so that it's just normal for you and you don't face as much resistance or need as much discipline to go. That was a big thing. And knowing the power of the momentum that habit can bring, and not letting yourself fall out of it, because then you need discipline to get back in and get the ball rolling again, right? And then the second thing was looking at it from a lifestyle perspective. It's like, okay, I'm going to take initiative. It's not, I mean, not everybody can have the flexibility, but it's like, I'm going to take initiative and realize that I can do a much better job with gym if I go at lunch, or if I take a quick break from work and then come back after. So I'm going to propose that to my boss or whoever, or somebody at work, and see if that's an option. And the worst case scenario, they say no, and it's like, okay, but at least you tried. And I'm sure, like, if you get done the same amount of work and you're a good worker, I'm sure that some people would have leadership that would be open to that.
Yeah.
And that way you're just like a better thriving human being overall, if you're healthier too, right?
Yeah, for sure. For me, it's been a big win to have that flexibility with my company. And because it allows me to take a break from my work, I go to the gym, get recharged, and then when I come back, I'm even more recharged for work rather than doing continuously 8 hour long work periods. So yeah, it's kind of a win-win, I think, for the company and myself too.
100%, man. And I'm big on that. I do my workouts midday. Like, I like to think of get a chunk of work done, and then once my brain starts getting a little bit, like, I get distracted easier, I can't focus, then I know it's gym time or walk
Yeah.
time if it's a rest day, and then I'll come back and do another set of work. I did the same thing when I was in university studying. I personally, I know I'm biased because I'm an entrepreneur, but I don't think that the 8 work hours straight is any more productive than if you gave people 5 hours a day. And I'll back that. I really do think people get done what they need to get done in the time that you give them to get it done.
That's
You know what I mean?
true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think I would agree with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and hey, if you feel revived after your workout and ready to go and refreshed, then your work output is going to be much higher. So instead of dragging it out for like 2 hours, you might be able to get that quality work done in like an hour, because you're feeling refreshed, you're sharp and ready to go, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's been a shift in our working culture across industries, right? Where after COVID, I mean, I feel like companies are more flexible about work
Mhm.
hours and they care more about outcomes rather than time. Um, so maybe, some people would have that flexibility to make that
Totally true,
change.
man.
Yeah,
That's a great point. Focusing on outcomes rather than time. That is so true. And that's not even just true in like the workforce. That's also true in your fitness journey. Do you want to, people spend like 2 hours at the gym and never see any results. They go 2 hours for like 5 days a week and never do anything. And then you could have a really good 4 day split where it's an hour in, an hour out, very productive training, and you see
mhm,
more results than you did in the past 2 years and 3 months, right? So it's like,
yeah,
it's not about the time. But that's so
yeah.
cool, man. I love that. I guess I won't take too much more time, but I do want to ask you, I guess, and I know I ask this to everybody, but I really want to ask your opinion as well, is somebody that's been on the fence of like starting to take action with their fitness goals, and maybe has pushed it back for a long period of time. What would you say to them, or what kind of push would you give them to kind of get going and get started?
For me, based on my experience and how I started it, I would tell them to kind of write out how they would like their life to look in a few years, um, in different aspects, especially physical aspects. Like what shape do they want their body to be in and be capable of doing? Um, and if they don't do that, how would their life look like in a few years from now?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that'll be a good motivator for you to recognize positive benefits and realize that the trade-off is worth it, to get started and on any type of physical activity in your life, because we're not meant to just sit sedentary as humans. We're meant to move throughout the week, every day. So that's the advice I would give, is just write about your future goals and what benefits it would bring you to actually, what if you did start on your fitness journey? What would your life look like? And I think that's the advice I would give to someone like that.
Amazing, man. Having that clear vision, right? Having that clear vision. This is what I want my life to look like. And one of the key pillars of your life is health, right? That's one of the key pillars. And not only health, I find mental health is kind of tied with that too. And like self-perception, I think is a pillar within mental health, which is a pillar within health itself, right? So it's like, if you really feel good about yourself, and this is why I'm so passionate about this stuff, is because if you feel good about yourself and you take control of your body and you're also feeling good inside and out, then like the effect that has on your life is just exponential, right?
Yeah,
So
and then even effects on other people around you. So, you might motivate one of your friends or to get started, which was the case for me. I got motivated by seeing, um, Jonathan and Daniel and the progress they made. So,
yeah, man. Yeah, we can all feed off each other's energy, man. And that's like, some people are like competitive with their friends, but I if it's friendly competition, I like it. But it's like, let's just push each other to be better. And I think the cool thing about a lot of the clients we have, like yourself and a lot of the circle that we have at Team Truth, is like, we all just want to be better so badly. And if you talk to any of our clients, they all are on that same wavelength of just like being better. And any of like even the group workouts that we've had with people, and I know you've gone to a couple of those, it's like you can just feel the energy of like, people want you to succeed too. It's not like they're selfish and like, I'm gonna lift heavier and I want to make more gains than you. It's like, we all want each other to do better. And I think that's super cool if you can surround yourself with people that want you to be better just as much as they want to get better.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it's very true.
that's awesome, man. That's great. Thank you so much for coming on, Shiv. Is there any parting thoughts that you want to share? Any last tips for anybody listening?
Um, yeah, nothing comes to mind at the moment. I would say it's just been really nice working with you, and I don't know if I could have made all the progress I did if I hadn't done that. So, thanks so much for your coaching, and for your professionalism. Um, yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, dude. Pleasure's all mine as well. It's been awesome seeing your growth. All right, we'll close it here out. And if anybody has any questions, obviously leave some comments on our YouTube video below. Take care.